Good morning and welcome once again to GKBA Today. And always, we want to thank Community News for giving us this platform. We always feature an esteemed member of the Greater Kendall Business Association. And today we have with us Eli Asencio from Miami-Dade Community. I slipped. That was in my time. Miami-Dade College. Miami-Dade College. And where he is the campus chief digital officer.
Yes.
Eli, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Carlos. Happy to be here.
Great. So I've seen you speak before, and but we're going to get to know you a little bit because people want to know who we're speaking with. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Eli.
Yeah, sure thing. So I've been working at Miami-Dade. I want to say at least 8 years now.
Okay. Are you
And
from the area, or
yeah,
Okay.
born and raised,
Okay.
local. Went to college at FSU.
Okay.
And, also
I'm a
Miami
Gator,
Dade
so
College.
please don't hold that
Oh
against me.
man. Yeah, and honestly, I've been studying business and also computer science for quite a bit. Backgrounds in business intelligence, applied economics, and I started at Miami-Dade, helping students enroll in classes, wanting to learn English, and doing marketing for the program as well.
Okay.
And from there, I've just grown over the years, and now I teach classes on applied AI for business.
Okay.
And I'm really happy to be here and to be speaking with you. I had the opportunity to work with a lot of local small businesses and implementing AI in their businesses. And honestly, in my classes, I've had a lot of students that are local leaders,
Mm-hmm.
and they just asking questions about AI, how they can implement it. And it's a wonderful class because you have a lot of folks that are sharing ideas.
Okay.
And AI is everywhere right now.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful environment to be.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned that because if you look at the news cycle, and I guess right now the hottest topic is tariffs, but after that, AI doesn't stop. You hear about AI all day. You see new developments. There's all kinds of questions. From the implementation of it to the ethics of it, all those things. But one of the things that I find interesting is that yes, generative AI, I guess, is relatively new, but we've been dealing with AI forever. And I brought up the example when we were talking before the show that, even a phone system IVR, where it's, press one for sales and things like that, that's been around for a long time. That's AI. So I think there are a lot of things that people don't realize. Siri,
Yeah.
those kinds of things,
Alexa,
that Alexa,
yeah.
that they don't realize that it's AI. But, I guess Chat GPT changed the game, and with generative AI.
Absolutely. And I do have an interesting thing I want to share here. I heard of this podcast where they interviewed Sam Altman, and they asked him, what's up with the name ChatGPT? It doesn't sound like a human. And his expectation was that ChatGPT is meant to. They're trying to build it so it could be useful in many different cases, right? And they realized people are going to have conversations with it, and they wanted to make sure that they gave it a name that didn't sound human, that it sounded like a robot.
Okay. Okay.
So I always found that very interesting, and there's a lot of use cases for it now. I mean, we use it in a professional setting, right? In businesses, and I've seen a lot of folks use it when they're writing emails with colleagues or they're trying to generate ideas, and I think that's really one of the best use cases of it.
Agreed.
If you're a small business owner trying to find strategies, you're trying to think of creative ways maybe to get your name out there, it's a great use case to be able to put in a prompt and say, hey, this is my business, this is where I'm located, help me think of some ideas, to try to get my name out there. And so it's everywhere.
Yeah, it really is everywhere, and I think people are getting more and more used to using it. I remember at the beginning when Chat GPT first came out, I was maybe a couple months behind, and I jumped on it, and I got the paid version because the other version just wasn't working for me. And I remember back then it would only go back to, I forgot what year, like 2021 maybe, or something like that. And now all that has changed, and now there are all kinds of models out there.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to have their own Copilot. Gemini, Grok is out there, Elon Musk's version of it.
Yeah, we call it the AI wars.
The AI wars, the AI wars, and everybody's trying to be the biggest and the baddest, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, these large language models, these are all large language models.
Right.
They have, some are better at certain things than others.
Right.
Right. And I know ChatGPT is the most popular one.
Right.
Because I think it was one that really disrupted, the industry. But there are other ones, and at Miami-Dade College, we talk with students and we share different ones with them. Copilot is a big one that the colleges has right now.
Right.
I know ChatGPT is a popular one. Perplexity works very good with research.
Right. Perplexity is really good for research.
Yeah, Claude is another great one.
Claude I use as well.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of them out there. I think it's very important to understand how to create prompts. And that's really one of the things that we try to do with our students is, instead of just creating a GPT to help them, with a particular task, we're trying to show them how to think through creating a prompt.
Okay.
Right.
As I understand it, and I use it every day, it's all about giving context, right?
Yes, that's right.
And anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah, context is important, and just a quick tip here. Let's say you have a lot of writings, right? Like just a quick example. A lot of professors write recommendation letters, right? That's just one tip. If you go into ChatGPT or any of these large language models and you share your information, it can help you with your writing and make it sound a little bit like you, right?
Right.
Give it not make it sound so robotic.
Right. So that's when you're creating your own GPT, basically, or is that the next step you're talking about?
You can do that with regular, ChatGPT Pro license or any of them. Creating your own GPT, you're training it on more specific information.
Right.
So one use case for a small business would be maybe if you have PDFs or procedures, right? And maybe you have new employees that are coming in and you can't always be there to answer questions. This could be one way to guide them. You create a GPT, train it on your PDFs, on your manuals, on your procedures. They can ask. That's one easy way for them to be able to implement it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me that's very important, because when you're in any business, small or large, you have to have processes and systems really to be able to scale. So if you can have ChatGPT or another large language model do that for you, that's just a home run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to tell you, just awareness. I always think of the sales funnel, to be honest with you.
Okay, I get it. So do you think that these language models right now, these large language models, is there an awareness issue, or that's already behind us? Because I think there was at the beginning, obviously, like any product, but now I know everybody knows AI, I don't know if it's a 4-letter word now, AI, but some people think it is. But is there awareness of, for example, the different kinds of large language models and other types of AI that can help people and businesses every day?
Well, I'd say certainly ChatGPT, a large amount of folks, at least the ones I've spoken to, are aware of ChatGPT.
Okay.
But the other AI tools, other large language models, not so much. I know Google has been dominant for a long time, and now Google search, you can ask it questions and it's using AI to give you answers sometimes. So I think showcasing other types of large language models is still important, but really showing folks the types of prompts you can put in, right? The types of use cases, the awareness of those things. And I think one way we can do that is communicating with other folks in the same industry, right?
Okay.
If you're in marketing, I know that AI and marketing have been hand in hand. As
Absolutely.
a small business owner, you can use AI to assist with copy and image generation, and I know ChatGPT's latest image generation has been very useful, very great.
Right.
And a lot of folks haven't tested it out yet, because when it first came out, it's kind of choppy, right? You would see 3 fingers and
yeah, and I was leaning more towards Mid Journey, but I think maybe that's fallen behind.
Yeah, Mid-Journey took some time, and it was the dominant one for quite a bit. But I think ChatGPT's latest update has been very useful. I've seen businesses upload their product, and it's been able to generate an image with someone using the product. So
That to me
it's a game
is
changer.
that is a game changer. Now, the one thing I know, and I don't know if they've gotten it right yet, is what with these image generation platforms, writing. So if you want to say, a sign that says welcome or something, that they're still struggling with that. I don't know if that's still the case.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've seen it lately, and it's gotten the writing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gotten the writing portion of it. I know there was a big issue with it, and you would ask it to create it, maybe a logo or something,
Right.
and it just wasn't there. I've tested it out lately, and it's gotten the text
And
correct.
was it ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was I think it was something that we were doing for Valentine's Day or one of the recent holidays.
Right. Right.
So
The other thing, when you're asking the image generator to do something realistic, it was hit or miss. I mean, to me, it's like in the movies when you see CGI, and it's one of those things you say it looks real, but it's not,
yeah,
kind of thing.
absolutely.
So I wonder where we are with that. And I've seen some very realistic images, but it seems inconsistent.
Yeah, I think it's getting better. We can still tell that it's AI, but I think that's not going to last that long.
Okay.
It's an interesting time in humanity. In the past, well, at least many years, if I showed you an image that I was somewhere, you would believe it, right?
Right.
Now we're starting to question ourselves. Well, is that real?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that is
interesting
funny that
times.
you say that. That comes up in conversation a lot.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we try to teach our students is information literacy, right?
Yeah.
When we say information literacy, we're always thinking computers.
Right.
But the fact is, information literacy is trying to understand: is this a reliable source, right? Is this real? Is this true? So that's one of the things I know the library at the college the librarians have been very big on lately, and it's interesting time, interesting conversations.
Yeah. So something I'm dabbling with right now is creating an avatar of myself.
Oh,
and my voice, and it's tough to tell what's real and what's not.
Have you used 11 Labs before?
I have.
I've used it before where I've trained it on my own voice.
Right.
And it sounds like me.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. And now see, that is becoming more widespread because I use something for video editing called Veed. And Veed is now offering that service as well.
Oh, I wasn't aware. I didn't know Veed did that now.
Yeah. Veed does that. I think it's pretty new.
Great.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different tools out there, right?
Yeah.
And I think, at least for me personally, one way I like to stay up to date is with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I try to follow leaders in the industry. And
who are some of these leaders in the industry?
Well, I'll tell you one that I really like to follow is Ethan Malik.
Yeah.
He's a professor, I believe, at the school of Wharton School of Business. And he is always posting, new articles, latest research. He actually has a book out called Co-Intelligence. I think the library has it, the local library. Highly recommend reading it. He states these 4 rules with AI. I don't remember all 4, but one that really stuck out to me was always bring AI to the table.
Okay.
So what he means by that is when we're cooking, when we're doing different tasks in our lives, right? Try asking AI a prompt about that. So one example for me is I enjoy cooking.
Okay.
And I've put in prompts asking, hey, how do you cook this? Or maybe I'll go to a restaurant or I'll travel somewhere, I'll try some food, and I'll ask AI, hey, help me create this.
Right.
And really what we're doing here is we're bringing more awareness of the capabilities of AI. And I really think that's something that a lot of folks we need to be aware of. If you have kids, right, and maybe your kids are in school and how their interaction with AI is, those are things that we need to test out ourselves before we teach the next generation.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, looking forward a little bit, because people are freaking out. Some people, I should say, are freaking out. AI is going to replace just about everything. But the way I look at it is a little different in that, for example, movies and video at home didn't do away with movie theaters, that kind of thing. And, to me, it's you just mentioned a scenario where people would go to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it going to eliminate YouTube? Probably not. It's
Yeah.
going to complement it. So, I don't know if you've dabbled in any of that and thought about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think jobs are going to go away.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be replaced. It's a term that we've used at the college. It's called high AI, which stands for, it's an abbreviation for human intelligence and artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And I want to pose this example to you. If I have 5 people in the room and I give them a paper clip,
Right.
and I say, give me a list of all the things you could do with this paper clip, right? They may give me 10, 15 ideas, right?
I couldn't give you 10 or 15, but anyway, go ahead.
But then I say, well, now you can use AI,
Okay.
right? They're going to give me a much longer list,
Right.
Especially if they're creative with their prompts, And I think in terms of work, working with AI, right, you can get a lot of value out of it, and it can really help us organize ourselves and maybe think about things we haven't considered before, right? I've seen different use cases with businesses. Paralegals are starting to use LexisNexis.
Yeah.
Has a new feature, right?
Does it?
LexisNexis has been out
Around
there
forever. Yeah. And it
Uh,
is like the legal standard for research.
but it's helped, now has an AI portion to it that helps with research, and you don't have to go digging as much.
Okay.
That's one way to save time.
Yep.
It's very useful cases.
Yeah. So what kind of tips would you give people that are just starting out from a prompts perspective? What should are some of the, rules, suggestions, etc.?
So there are 3 things I would suggest. First one is, when you're putting in a prompt, give it a role, right? So if you're trying to think of something with marketing, right, you can give it a persona. You can say you're Steve Jobs,
Okay.
You could say something, you're a marketing expert,
Right.
you could give it a role.
Okay. Or a name. That's interesting.
Or a name, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, think just side conversation
Right,
real
right.
quick. Think about if you're teaching a history class.
Yeah.
You tell students to put in a prompt that says you're Benjamin Franklin,
Right.
And they can have a
Yeah, yeah.
conversation. So anyways, so give it a role,
Right.
Give it a goal. And usually those goals involve some sort of verb,
Right.
So write
Mhm.
an email, write a copy, write 10 copies,
Yeah. 10 bullet points, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The third one is give it constraints.
Okay.
Don't talk about this particular topic. Don't use this type of wording. That's one way. Those are 3 things I would start off with.
Okay.
Another tip is, if you see yourself consistently putting in the same types of prompts, keep it in the same conversation, because it learns from it.
Interesting.
So if you're always, for example, my cooking example,
Mhm.
right? I might ask it to give me a recipe, and then if I didn't like it, I'll go back and I'll say, hey, I didn't like this.
Right.
Give me, next time I try cooking, I'll ask it for another recipe in the same conversation, and it kind of gets
Right.
an idea of like what I like and I don't.
Right. So if you don't like pepper in your recipes, for example,
That's right.
at some point it's going to not include pepper.
That's right. And a lot of times we use AI for helping us with communication.
Right. Absolutely.
So one tip is, you can also, maybe things that you've written in the past, you can put it into the conversation. Say, hey, I like this that I wrote. Give me something similar in the same
Right.
style and the same,
Yep.
using the same language.
Yep.
More than ever before, I think as humans, we're starting to realize what our voice is as writers, right? And we're starting to ask ourselves, well, how do I write? What does it sound like to be human? It's all interesting conversations, and
Yeah.
we have an AI ethics course, and those are the types of conversations you can expect in there. So
Yeah.
interesting times.
I mean, all kinds of intellectual property issues,
Yes.
and there have been lawsuits going left and right. So I guess we all have to be careful too.
Yeah, and I mean, scams more than ever before, right? Like I don't know about you, but I get robocalls all the time.
Oh, all the time, all the time, and emails and texts and all kinds of things.
And I try to tell folks, try to be more conscious if you get a phone call and it sounds human and it sounds, it sounds more real, and they're saying your name and
Yeah.
this kinds of stuff, because AI is out there and these tools can be used maliciously.
Yeah.
So try to be conscious, and with writings as well, emails look a lot more legitimate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting times and things, just to be conscious of, and that's really why I think I like to talk about AI with folks. It's that
Mhm.
awareness piece of it, right?
Yeah.
There may be things out there that we don't know AI could do.
Right.
And until you have a conversation with someone that has used it a certain way, or maybe,
Right. Like you said, you're going back to the funnel.
Yeah,
You're
that's
going
right.
back to the funnel.
That's right.
You know what's interesting to me is, and this isn't AI specific, but it's more technology specific. And this is for the ethics class. And it's a question I ask myself, is technology making us dumber? And and I'll give you a perfect example. When I was younger and there weren't even cell phones, I knew everybody's phone number. Everybody's phone number was in my head.
Yeah.
And now, forget about it. I tell myself, why? I mean, I have it in my phone. So there's some of that, and are you going to lose your voice when you write?
Well, I definitely think there's a space for boundaries. Right?
Okay.
I think there's, especially younger folks as they're learning to write, might be good to place some boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Your writing you cannot use AI for it. There's something in that struggle with writing, right?
Yeah.
When you're thinking through the processes, you're
Yeah.
critically thinking,
Yeah.
I would say though, if you're just using AI to write everything for you, you may be a little bit more difficult when the time comes that you have to write on your own.
Right. And you
So
better check your accuracy too, because
yeah.
it's not AI is not always 100% accurate either.
But I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you don't memorize phone numbers,
Right.
but have you had to memorize more passwords?
Okay, so here's from the answer is yes, but from a cybersecurity perspective, a cybersecurity expert told me, if you can remember your password, it's not good enough. So that's that's that angle. But yes, the answer is yes. I've had to remember way more passwords for sure.
Yeah, I think we've replaced phone numbers with passwords now.
I like that. So tell me about, this is really important. Tell me about what you offer at the university for AI at the college.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a bachelor's in AI.
Okay.
That was huge. The first ones in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
But we have certificates in artificial intelligence and associates in science. The certificate in AI, you can finish it in less than 1 year.
Okay.
And we have scholarships for it, which is great. So if you're a Miami-Dade resident or Miami resident, you can get a scholarship to take these classes. Maybe you want to take one class, and the class I teach is Applied AI for Business.
Okay.
And really, we're trying to give practical tools for small business owners. How to use AI in marketing and human resources and all these different facets that a small business owner, all the hats they need to wear.
Right.
Python programming, Applied AI for Business course, you don't need to know coding.
Right.
This is, introductory course and different tools, and you learn different foundations in AI.
Right.
Different terms.
For somebody like me that, I am in no way, shape, or form an AI expert, but I use different platforms almost every day. Is this something for me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And depending how far you want to go with it too, we can help you with it. So
Okay.
let's say you want to get into programming and you want to create your own apps and implement.
The answer is no to that, but anyway.
But let's say you want to use OpenAI's API.
Okay.
Right. And use that to create something. We can help you with that.
Okay. Okay.
And I think it also provides a space for you to communicate with other folks that are small business leaders, in the community, and be able to have that space where you can share ideas and collaborate.
So for free of charge, you can take this course.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How long does it last? I think there's one that's right around the corner, or just started, or right?
Yeah. Summer classes start in May.
Okay.
You can enroll today.
It's Saturdays, right? How does it work?
We have several. So
Okay,
that's the beauty about it. We have online, in person, some on Saturdays, some weeknights. The website, I believe, is mdc.edu/ntech/scholarships.
By the way, talking about that, I went to the inauguration of your new technology center.
Oh, wonderful.
It was.
What'd you think about it?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it is really cool.
Yeah, the team has done a great job. MDC, I think we're trying to be conscious of what business leaders in the community, what they need to help grow their businesses. And we're trying to offer those courses, and we're constantly having communications with business leaders like we are today.
Right.
To get some insight.
Perfect. I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
I just want to say that AI, it's a topic that's, everyone's talking about it. If it's something that you kind of want to dabble a little bit into, we have something called GPT Tuesdays.
Okay.
You can Google it or Chat GPT it. And it's usually held in downtown. Folks that are from all walks of life that come together, and we're talking about AI.
Very cool. So that's live. That's live and
every
in person.
Tuesday. Yeah.
All right. Eli, thanks so much. This is fascinating. We got to have you back for sure.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for being a member of the Greater Kendall Business Association.
Thank you for your time, Carlos.
All right. All right. And we will be back soon with GKBA Today. As always, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Community News for this platform. And until next time.